Good afternoon, guys. Loving the weather here in Florida. It is pouring outside on this Friday afternoon, and we're super excited. We have Pastor JJ Johnson. How you doing?
How you doing? Good, JT. Good to see you.
Likewise. We've been trying to get this guy on here forever and a million years because he just exemplifies everything we stand for. And so this program that you're going to start seeing, these interviews, are basically about faith, family, and fitness. And this guy exemplifies that. He's been coming out to Fit Method for quite a bit now. How many?
I think we're over a year.
Wow. So he's been coming for a year, and you've lost weight and
23 pounds.
23 pounds. Awesome. So, Pastor JJ, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, right now I am the senior pastor of South Tampa Fellowship. We are one church that has 3 campuses here in South Tampa. We have one on Bayshore, Ballast Point, one right here on Davis Island, and then our newest campus is located in the Channel District.
Beautiful. How long have you been a pastor?
I've been a pastor for 28 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's incredible. What was the motivation to go into the ministry?
I didn't grow up going to church, wasn't a part of reading the Bible or Jesus, didn't know anything about that. And when I was first introduced to faith, it was through someone who was much older. It was my guardian grandmother. Okay. And every day, JT, she would tell me that God loved me. My life had not been very lovable. Mm-hmm. And so I remember one day just telling her, your God's love stinks, and I don't want any part of it. Of course, that's when God really started working in my life.
Sure.
And so He started moving, and then God put some people in my life that actually lived out their Christian faith, made a huge impact on me. I remember giving my life to Christ, and then thinking like, wow, if those people would have been in my life earlier, who knows? Could have saved me from a lot of trouble, a lot of heartaches, right?
Yeah. What an idea, right? Congruency, right?
Right.
Speaks louder than words.
Sure.
Amazing. So you came to faith, and was it like, boom, I'm going into the ministry?
No, but I was all in.
Yeah.
Like, I was one of those guys that when I committed, started like a lot of people, no one told me, but I was given a Bible, so I started in Genesis, right? So Genesis, Exodus is pretty solid.
Sure.
I hit Leviticus, and my Bible reading came to a close.
Yeah.
But then about a year later, I started reading in the New Testament.
Okay.
Of course, Matthew, the first book of the gospel, and reading through Matthew, and honestly, JT, Matthew 1, 2, and 3 seemed like a lot from the Old Testament.
Yeah.
But then I hit chapter 4, and that's where Jesus is tempted. And it was the first time where Jesus almost became like a superhero to me, because he told Satan on 3 occasions, that man doesn't do this, but we live for God.
Right.
And I thought, like, wow, how cool is Jesus? For like a 17, 18-year-old, that's when Jesus captured my affection as a man. Right. And I was like, I want to follow him.
Yeah. That's beautiful, man. That's beautiful. And that was at 18?
I was 18.
Wow. It happened further on for me. I was 33.
Wow.
But very similar to that. That's amazing. So you get on this path of reading your Bible, trying to figure all these things out for yourself. But when was that moment where you're like, you know what? I want to devote my life to this? Because you're a talented dude. You could have went into corporate America, made a ton of money, lived that life. But what was it that said, you know what? I this is what I want to do. This is what I want my life to look like for the rest of my life.
Yeah. I went away on a baseball scholarship, so I went to go play baseball. That first year after my freshman season, which did not go very well for me personally, just the adjustment going from high school to college and being plugged in pretty early in my freshman year. I struggled at the plate, just had a bad year. And my friend invited me to what's known as Beach Project, and it's located in Panama City Beach. It's through a ministry called Campus Crusade for Christ. Okay. And it was for 13 weeks, and I'll never forget. I'm now reading the Bible. I'm now studying the Bible. I'm praying. But for the first time, some of these things that I've heard about, I'm seeing 150 other college students doing it.
Okay.
And it was unbelievable. We were in worship services, we were in small groups together, accountability groups, and then every Saturday, think about this, 150 college students going to the beach, And of course, we're creating chatter, right?
Sure,
like
sure.
everybody's going, oh, this is going to be a big party. And we would put on these incredible outreaches. We did slow motion football. We actually put on, we built a ring, and we actually did a wrestling match right there, and all these people would come. And then we would stop in the middle of it and just say, hey, there's a bunch of college students here that have found purpose in Jesus, and if you want, we would be happy to share that with you. And then we would just continue. And JT, it was incredible how many people would actually say, like, I need purpose.
Yeah.
I want something beyond what I'm living for today. And we were able to share the gospel with them and give them the hope of Jesus.
Wow, that's incredible. So many people out there. I know personally. For many years, I tried to find purpose through sports. I played soccer, and I this sounds weird, but thank God that ended for me at 24, because it was that moment in time where I said, my purpose is no longer in soccer. And then for a good 9 months, I just had passion for nothing, and I was dead. And I went into the world to seek the things of the world, money and chasing women and doing all these things, and still felt empty.
Right.
And so it wasn't until I got to that point where I found Jesus that I truly found purpose and fulfillment in my life. But before that, I was trying to find it in everything else, in status and money and things and what people thought about me. And then it was after that, finding Jesus, that there was that full fulfillment. Pretty incredible. So you played baseball. Now, did you play in the minor leagues, or did you actually go pro?
No, I played a season in Mexico, which is not glamorous at all. But I did have that experience.
Yeah.
It was the year of the Major League strike. So able to play with some well-known athletes, baseball players who were down there during the strike. And actually, I was introduced to a Christian coach, a manager who just was unbelievable. It's a guy who had played for the Minnesota Twins. I think should be in the Hall of Fame, but came really, really close, but didn't get voted in. Pitched in like 4 World Series. And this guy just lived for Jesus in an amazing way. And one of the things, JT, he would share Jesus with people, but not in a
pushy way.
Not a pushy way at all.
Right.
I mean, it was unbelievable. It was almost like a skill or a gift that he had, that he could enter into a Jesus conversation with anyone and not make them mad. I mean, he just did it in such a great way of the love of Jesus, the kindness of Jesus, and then yet he would share the story of Christ and the gospel.
That's awesome. So it seems like this was a very just a theme in your life of sports and Jesus, and now you are the chaplain for the Toronto Blue Jays, correct?
Right. Yeah.
How long have you been doing that?
So I've been a chaplain since the Rays started. I was actually one of their first chaplains at the big league level, and did that for 3 years. We were not very good in chapel, nor were we very good on the field.
Right.
We went through some struggles.
Is that still the case with the Rays?
No, they got some really, really good guys now, and they have a much better chaplain. And then I went over and I was with the Yankees for 12 years, and of course we have some guys. Matter of fact, one was just put into the.
Sorry guys, we had a little call there, interruption.
So there were some guys with the Yankees that are household names that really live for Jesus, and then we had some awesome times during chapel, Bible studies, and then some things that happen on the field that I don't think the average fan has any clue that faith is happening right there.
Wow.
We had a player, starting first baseman for the Yankees. His name was Andy Phillips. And he found out that his wife was pregnant. And about the time they found out she was pregnant, they also found out she had cancer.
Oh my God.
And it was a very emotional spring training on us.
Sure.
Because it's the excitement one day of she's pregnant. And it was almost like the next day, the disappointment that she has cancer. And she's got to go through this battle. And I think sometimes we forget that for professional athletes, it's their job. So the Yankees gave Andy 1 week to go home, be with his wife, but then he had to come back and keep his starting position that he just earned, and they pay him very well. And so it was opening day, and Andy found out that his wife Bethany and him had lost their child. So imagine as a little kid growing up, dreaming about playing for the Yankees, dreaming about being a pro baseball player, opening day, and on that day you find out that your wife has just lost your child.
Wow.
And so what most people don't know, that's happening.
Yeah.
And every inning, a different guy would take Andy down the tunnel and would pray for him.
My God.
And so ministry happens in professional athletes all the time.
Yeah.
And so I was with the Yankees, and now I have the privilege of serving the Toronto Blue Jays. So I've been with them for 5 years, and it's just a blast.
That's beautiful. I want to get into that, but before we transition into that conversation, what do you say to a guy who just got the great news? You know, he's having a baby. The next day, his wife has cancer. He loses his baby. He has to be, he has to keep the edge playing a professional sport, which already creates so much pressure and demand. What do you say to a guy like that? Like, what did you say to him?
Yeah, well, first of all, in situations like that, I'm not this guy that believes, hey, here's a verse a day and a little quick prayer and you're going to be okay.
Yeah.
Obviously, this is going to be a process that we're going to have to walk through. And I think that's the incredible thing about journeying with Jesus.
Right.
It is exactly that. It's a journey.
Right.
It's not like a one-time decision or a one-time prayer or one-time Bible study. It's a lifelong process. And so all of us coming alongside of Andy to let him know, hey, we're with you, and we're going to be here. The good times, the bad times, the valleys, the mountaintops. We're going to be in this journey together.
Right.
And so it was just that. It was just us praying over him. Every inning, a different guy just coming and putting their arms around him, and then he's got to go hit. He's got to go back out to first base. So it's just, I think that's ministry, right? It's just knowing, hey, I'm in this with you if you're having the best day of your life or the worst day of your life. And I think understanding that God loves you regardless.
Amen. So one of the cool things is we are creatures of comfort. Right. We say creatures of habit, but I always say we're creatures of comfort, right? We're always looking for the path of least resistance, and it's the path of least resistance that provides the least ROI in life, right? And one of the things that I've learned through my process of maturing in Christianity is that it's in those moments, it's in those dark moments that you truly see God show up in your life. And instead of breaking you, it actually builds you up. So I imagine this guy, after that situation, his faith must have gone through a whole other level.
Unbelievable.
That's incredible.
And those are tough places to be in, because I think in those you can either turn bitter or you can turn better. You can either turn to God or you can turn away from God. And Andy chose to, as his wife Bethany did, they just chose to give that to the Lord. And God, we have a daughter now in heaven, and yet here on earth we're going to love you and we're going to continue to praise you. And for the guys that were not believers on the team, man, what an impact that they had. That this guy's faith is real. It's not just, he made it to the big, so he has faith, or he got a hit, or he hit a home run, or he made a great play at first, and so he loves God. No. Man, his faith was solid regardless of what he was going through.
Kind of that Job, naked I came, naked I leave.
Exactly.
Wow. Incredible. So from there, you transition onto the Toronto Blue Jays. Right. And so, being a professional athlete, I know the egos, right? I had a big one. I had a huge ego. How do you get across to these guys? And because you come through the door and you're like, hey, I'm your chaplain, and they're kind of like, wait a second, I'm God. What are you talking about? How does that? How do you get in with these guys?
Well, normally you'll have one or two believers on the team already. We'll connect with them. We'll meet outside of chapel, do Bible studies, different things. But then it's being there for them, because it's amazing. I always try to connect with every guy. Somehow, some way, try to pull some string that maybe we know someone, or maybe he was with a different team and he knew someone that I know. So any string that I can pull to try to say, hey, JT, I know this guy that you know. And a lot of times they'll blow you off. A lot of times they blow you off. But it's that consistency of staying in their life. And then sure enough, maybe something tragic happens in their life, or it could be something amazing happens in their life. And they want to do something with that. And then they realize, oh man, the chapel guy. Maybe I should go and talk to him. And so we're able to build a relationship like that. Matter of fact, this year I had the privilege of sharing Jesus with one of our guys, and the year before, went through a difficult time with his mom, and 205 days she was in the hospital, and she ended up passing away. And so the phone call came, and I thought, he's mad at God, he's upset with God, and there's questions that we all ask, right? God, why did this happen? And there's some things we're not going to know. We're just not going to know here, but we try to give that over to the Lord and try to somehow, some way, use our life for His glory. So I met with this guy, Rocco Tacos, there at International Mall. So we're sitting down, and the first 30 minutes of the conversation was, I can't believe my mom passed away. I can't believe she's never going to see me as a Major League Baseball player. Wow. And then the conversation turned to purpose. And then the conversation turned to, well, what is living? What does it really mean? And why am I a baseball player? And I was able to share the gospel with them over about a 2-hour conversation. And right there, he's like, I want Jesus in my life right now. So what turned out, what started as I want to know why this mean God took my mom that I love so much, to, wow, there's a God in heaven that loves me more than even my mom loved me. Wow. It was unbelievable. And only the Holy Spirit, works in a person's heart that way. Absolutely. So that's part of our ministry, getting to share Jesus with guys that, I don't get a seat at the table with them. You and I, we don't get a seat at the table with them unless we pay for it, a $1,000 dinner, but we don't get to have that type of conversation. So I think God has allowed us as chapel leaders to be a part of their life, and to be there for them in good times, bad times, and just to be someone who doesn't want anything from them.
That's awesome.
So we want something for them, but we don't want anything from them. And that's rare in their life. Everybody wants an autograph, a t-shirt, seats to the game, ticket, whatever.
To hang out with
we don't want anything. Matter of fact, we pay that lunch. I paid for it. Now, I know how much money he makes. I know how much money I make. But we pay because I've had guys tell me, 8 years, no one's ever paid for my meal.
That is crazy.
Like, matter of fact, when the check comes, everybody gets up and leaves. And so we always make sure we cover that.
Sure, that's awesome, man. That's awesome. So that's a question I get a lot. People come to me and say, well, why do bad things happen to good people, right? And then they'll tell me stories, tragedies in their lives. And one of the things that I often say is, we live in a fallen world, right? And hence the reason we need Jesus, right? This is the whole point. We can't do it on our own, and we have such a limited perspective of life, whereas he has the full view. And so in this case, with this athlete, it seems like what would look like a tragedy turned into something actually incredible, which has which is going to impact him in this life and the life to come.
Exactly.
Which is pretty amazing. So you interact with those guys. I mean, you live here in Tampa. How do you interact with those guys there in Toronto? Do you fly?
Spring training.
So
half the league does spring training here in Florida, the other half in Arizona. So the guys start rolling in around January. Spring training starts in March. So there's 2 or 3 months that I get to spend with them, almost weekly, sometimes daily with some of the guys. And then as they take off, we stay connected through Facebook, through texting. The guys love to text. They never answer their phone. I don't understand that. Well, they never answer, but they'll text immediately. So that's pretty funny. So we stay in touch like that. And then when the guys come into Tampa, we'll get together.
That's very cool.
This is good.
Super cool. So this fitness ministry, Fit Method 413, our slogan is strengthening mind, body, and spirit. One of the many reasons that I wanted to chat with you and have you on here is because, I've only been a Christian for 8 years, right? And fitness has always been a theme in my life. First playing, professional soccer, then going on to, own gyms and just this being part of my life. One of the things that I encountered in the church is that the talk about fitness and nutrition is kind of seen as something vain and superficial, and you don't see a lot of sermons being preached from the pulpit about these things that are so important. And so you're a guy who works out with us 2-3 days a week, right? You've lost weight. You've seen this as part of your Christian walk, right? What would you say to that person on the other side that has embraced the relationship with Jesus Christ, yet doesn't see the relevancy of fitness and nutrition, and doesn't even see it as a biblical command? Not that God is going to love us more, because that's not the case, but it's more about stewardship, right?
Okay.
Can you speak into that?
Yeah, I'd love to. And I'd love to take you in 3 places.
Okay.
And first, let's go with Jesus.
Yeah.
Right? There's the birth of Jesus that we celebrate every Christmas. Mm-hmm. And we've got in the scripture records of Jesus probably up to about the age of 2. Some theologians, some Bible scholars say maybe 3 or 4. But birth to 3 or 4, I mean, that's the story.
Right.
And then we have Jesus starting his ministry when he's 30.
Okay.
And then for the next 3.5 years, the Gospels, we have a lot written about Jesus. But what happened in between them? Luke is the only gospel writer that gives us a little insight. And in Luke chapter 2, verse 52, I think it is, says this, that Jesus grew in wisdom and in stature and in favor with God and man. Wow. And the way I like to share that is Jesus grew intellectually, Jesus grew physically, Jesus grew socially, and Jesus grew spiritually.
Wow.
For some reason, followers of Jesus love the fact that Jesus grew in favor with God. You know, he was constantly praying and growing in that. We love the fact that Jesus grew that his wisdom was so amazing. Even that at 12, he's teaching in the synagogue, asking questions that they're blowing their mind. Right? And we love the fact that Jesus grew socially. Yep. That Jesus didn't stay in the synagogue. He went outside the synagogue. Matter of fact, that made a lot of religious people mad. But for some reason, we want to skip over the part that says, and Jesus grew in stature. Meaning he grew physically. Yeah. Now, some would say, well, yeah, as a 12-year-old to a 30-year-old, he grew. But I don't think that's why that's recorded, right? Like, I think it's very specific for us that there are 4 areas in our life that we should constantly be growing. We should be growing in our wisdom. I think it's important that we intellectually as believers stay as sharp as we can, as smart as we can, if we can say that. And I think we need to grow socially. That all of our relationships don't need to just be within the Christian bubble. We need to go outside of that. We should grow in obviously our relationship with God spiritually. That's very, very important. But JT, I don't think there's any way you get around not growing physically, not taking care of your temple. Our bodies are the temple of God. Like the Spirit of God dwells inside of us. And why we as Christians would not want to do the best we can do to take care of that, I'm not sure, especially when Paul tells Timothy, physical training is of value. Right? Like it's an important reason that he says that.
He uses that.
That. I mean, he doesn't say drinking coffee every morning is of value. We know probably a lot of your watchers, they believe that, right? Like that's what Paul meant by that. No, he says physical training, exercise, taking care of your body. There's value to that.
Absolutely.
Now he goes on, obviously, to say, but godliness is of all things. Well, sure, of course so. But there's, I think Paul's telling Timothy, hey, Timothy, if you're going to be in ministry for the long haul, well, you better take care of your body. Take care of your temple. Right? And then, of course, you can go back to the Old Testament. You got Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, those 4 guys, and they're taken into slavery, and they want a specific diet. And at first, they're like, no, you're going to do what we ask you to do. No. Test us on this. Let's see what happens. And the Bible's pretty clear. Their bodies were in better shape. And it was a big testimony even to the king. It influenced the king to know what's going on with these Israelites, that they're in better shape, they look better than the rest of the people. Right? So I think it can be a big testimony of how we take care of our temple.
Wow, that's incredible. I love how you put that up. By the way, guys, we didn't script any of this. No. I mean, this guy and I, we're just we can be anywhere, and we can just kind of hit it off and have great conversations because we have so much in common. And I had never really talked to him about that area. I just knew he came to the gym, he embraced this, and I felt like he was such an incredible person to interview. And sure enough, here he is. He's hitting us with these knowledge bombs, which obviously I had seen in the Word. This is why I cling so much. Of course, to the Word of God, but then also to the physical aspect and the intellectual aspect and just growing in general. But seeing it all come together and you backing that up biblically is so powerful. And so we also have people on the other side that they're just not there, right? They don't know anything about Jesus. They don't want to know. They have preconceived notions. to that guy, to that girl, to that person on the other side, maybe they just stumbled upon this interview. What would you say to that person?
Well, I would say, first of all, God loves you. I would say God has a plan and a purpose for your life, and true purpose. Like, there is meaning beyond you getting a paycheck. There's meaning beyond you living in a home, driving a car. There's eternal ministry that God asks you to do, wants you to do, that will absolutely blow your mind. And part of that, JT, people a lot, they'll say to me, hey, that's probably good for you. It's just not good for me.
Right.
And I always say, okay, what's good for you? How's that plan working for you?
Yeah. How's that working?
And it's amazing how many times they'll say, well, I'm miserable.
Yeah.
And even sometimes professional athletes, or a lot of times people who are just professional in what they do for an occupation. Sure. They've got all the money you think they would need. They've got the home. They've got the cars. They've got the boats. They got the stuff. But at the end of the day, they're not happy.
Right.
Like, they're chasing something else.
Right.
And I would say to you, could it be that what you're really chasing, what you're looking for, that hole in your soul, could that be the relationship with God?
Right.
Could that be something that God's put there, that regardless of what you try to fill it with, it always seems to be a hole in your heart?
Yep.
And I think that's the place God wants.
Amen. That's awesome. That's beautiful. So, there's some people out there, I talk to so many people, and I'm pretty bold about my faith, and I feel like when I see people in pain, I want to share that with them. And one of the things that I often hear is, man, I believe in God, I'm just not ready to go to church, right? What would you say to that person that knows that God is there, they want to embrace Him, but they have preconceived notions and they just don't want to embrace the conventional ways? Like, where do they even start?
Yeah. Well, first, I would tell you, start by reading your Bible. Yeah. And if that's a verse a day, there's so many great Bible apps now. YouVersion is one, and they'll actually send you like the verse of the day. Maybe just start with that verse, or start reading in the Old Testament or the New Testament. If you start in the Old Leviticus, I promise you it's a great book. You just got to get through it. It just shows you. You know what Leviticus shows you?
Yeah.
Is that everything is spiritual.
Sure.
Working out is spiritual.
Yeah.
Doing
excellent things
is spiritual.
Is spiritual.
Where we try to separate everything, we almost say you have your home life, you have your work life, you may have your workout life, and we said, and Leviticus is a book that shows us no. Everything we do is spiritual. So everything that we do should be for the honor and the glory of God, and that can even be working out.
Wow.
Beautiful. So when we walk into Fit Method 413, I try to come in going for an hour the best that I can, depending on which coach I have for that day. I'm going to try to worship God as I work to keep my body as healthy as I possibly can.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So to wrap up here, Pastor JJ, let's say these are your last words. You're about to, relocate to heaven. Like, you're about to. These are your last words. What would you say? What would those last 3 words be of wisdom to people on the other side? What would you say?
Wow, man, that's an awesome statement. And for me, JT, it actually comes down to one Bible verse that I use as my declaration, my anthem, right? And it's found in Isaiah. Isaiah chapter 26, verse number 8 says this: "Yes, Lord, walking in the ways of your truth, I will wait for you. For it's your name and it's your fame that's the passion of my heart." Wow. JT, I'm with a lot of professional athletes. You were a professional athlete. I'm around a lot of successful people. But I promise you, their name's going to fade away. Matter of fact, some of the people that are in the Hall of Fame, some people who, maybe in baseball world, everyone would know them, but I share that name with you, and you're like, yeah, I got nothing. Like, I don't know who that is. Yeah. Their name's going to fade. Yeah. But we have the opportunity to hitch our name to a wagon that's always going to run. And we have the opportunity to live not for our name, but for the name of God. Wow. And I would just say that's living bigger than you. That's amazing. And so you can live life for you, and that's an option that you have. Sure. Like, do that. Sure. Live life for you, or you can live life for something bigger than you.
Amen.
And I think bigger than you is God that desires to be in you so that he can come out of you.
Wow, that's incredible. That's incredible. Pastor JJ, where can people find you? Where can they hear more about you?
Yeah, South Tampa Fellowship. Now I would say, JT, some amazing churches in the Bay Area if you're here in Tampa. Also across the country, some incredible churches. But if you're in Tampa, we'd love for you to come by. South Tampa Fellowship, located in Channel District, Davis Islands, Ballast Point and Bayshore area. So we'd love for you to go here.
What time are your services?
At the Ballast Point campus, we're 9:15 and 11. Here on Davis Islands, we are 10:30. And then in the Channel District, we're 11 o'clock.
11 o'clock. Awesome, guys. So if some of the things that you heard here piqued your interest in any way, you can either come see Pastor JJ at South Tampa Fellowship, or you can just reach out to me. I can connect you to him. He's an awesome guy. I see him as a friend, as a mentor, and I really look up to this guy. So hopefully we can bring him on a second time and talk about other aspects. Remember, this show is going to be going on bi-weekly, and we're going to be speaking about faith, family, and fitness. And so we're going to have some amazing guests, such as Pastor JJ. Pastor, thank you so much for your time. Always great speaking with you. Thank you guys for tuning in. We'll see you soon. Ciao.